The 64th plenary meeting of the General Assembly is called to order. I would like, in keeping with the established practice, to invite the attention of the General Assembly to document A/78/707, Addendum 3, in which the Secretary General informs the President of the General Assembly that, since the issuance of his communication contained in document A/78/707/Addendum 2, Dominica has made the payments necessary to reduce the arrears below the amount specified in Article 19 of the Charter. May I take it that the General Assembly takes note of the information contained in this document? It is so decided. The General Assembly will consider Agenda Item 118, entitled Commemoration of the Abolition of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade, and in accordance with Resolution 73/345 of 16 September 2019, hold a commemorative meeting on the occasion of the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. The President will deliver a statement from the rostrum. Mr. Courtenay Rattray, Chef du Cabinet of the Secretary General, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at the outset recognize and welcome among us here today our keynote speaker, Sir Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, as well as Youth Speaker Yolanda King. Your presence is very much appreciated. Today we gather in solemn observance of the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. This day holds profound significance, uniting us in a shared commitment to honor the memory of those who endured unimaginable suffering during one of the darkest chapters in human history. On this somber occasion, we pause to reflect and remember the tens of millions of enslaved Africans who were trafficked and sold into bondage, let alone being subjected to namelessness, relentless violence, and the most callous forms of dehumanization imaginable. In their memory, we still feel the painful brutality they endured in their struggle for freedom. I also take this moment to pay homage to the countless souls who perished on the harrowing journey of the Middle Passage, the desolate graveyard of the Atlantic. These millions of people, humans like any one of us, were not merely robbed of their physical freedom, but their identity and dignity. The transatlantic slave trade, one of the most heinous crimes against humanity that spanned over 4 centuries, introduced an abominable and abhorrent system of slavery that was not only commercialized, but was racialized. Excellencies, it is inconceivable that the enslaved were cruelly regarded as mere commodities for sale and exploitation, and together with their children born into slavery, perpetuating the vicious cycle of bondage and suffering, enduring untold horrors at the hands of their oppressors. Yet, despite centuries of intergenerational trauma, the enslaved and their dependents have demonstrated remarkable resilience and dignity, courageously defying the dehumanizing conditions of their bondage. We pay tribute to these revolutionaries, figures like Samuel Sharp, Sojourner Truth, Gaspar Yanga, and countless others who waged brave battles of freedom. From political life to the arts, these leaders paved the way for abolitionist movements, catalyzing scores of independence movements and inspiring the drive for emancipation towards alternative ways of thinking about anti-racism, justice, and equality. As we reflect on the manifold contributions of people of African descent, from architecture and urban design, the graceful dynamism of Copeira, to the soul-stirring melodies of African-American gospels, through to the poignant poetry of political activism embodied by leaders like Aimé Césaire, the contributions of Afro-descendants have remained indelibly etched in our memories and in the world around us. The profound value of their art and endeavors must be acknowledged and celebrated, as they rightfully deserve. We must also recognize the urgent need for accountability and reparations as an intrinsic part of the pursuit of true justice. Dear friends, the purpose of this annual General Assembly commemorative meeting is to continue shining a spotlight not only on the atrocious acts committed, but also on the unrelived racism and prejudice that continue to plague our societies even today. These are the legacies of slavery that still loom large, despite its abolition over a century ago. People of African descent continue to experience systemic racism and discrimination, enduring disparities in healthcare, education, housing, employment, and economic opportunities. It is incumbent upon states, institutions, and individuals to acknowledge their roles in perpetuating these legacies of injustice and to take meaningful steps towards reparatory justice. As my contribution to fostering candid conversations here at the United Nations on the important matter of reparatory justice, tomorrow morning I will convene a morning GAIAP dialogue featuring a small number of cross-regional groups of permanent representatives. The global reparatory justice movement continues to gain momentum, signaling a growing recognition of the need to address and redress the impacts of enslavement. As the first International Decade of People of African Descent draws to a close, let us ask ourselves, have its goals been achieved? The answer is, I believe, not yet. Therefore, I encourage you to consider the call of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent for the proclamation of a second international decade, focusing on reparatory justice, recognition, and equity. Excellencies, As I conclude, it is worth recalling that in 1802, while imprisoned by his captors, Toussaint Louverture inspiringly declared, and I quote, "In overthrowing me, you have cut down in Saint-Dominique only the trunk of the tree of liberty. It will spring up again from the roots, for they are numerous and they are deep." End quote. It holds immense significance to me to draw upon the words of an abolitionist revolutionary from what is now Haiti, a nation that regrettably continues to grapple with the vicious cycles of violence. In Haiti, the vestiges of slavery are deeply woven into the tragic fabric of poverty and violence, marking the real-life and contemporary repercussions of a centuries-long crime against humanity. And they simply must be addressed, because justice delayed is justice denied. The longer we delay the pursuit of justice, the longer we deny the achievement of peace. It is high time to right the wrongs of systemic racism and injustice. Let us also continue to educate present and future generations about the history and enduring legacy of slavery, accurately and truthfully. Let us reclaim and write the true stories of Africans and people of African descent, forging a future filled with justice, equality, and dignity for all, an ambition our invited speakers today will no doubt expound upon. I thank you.